This is the 5-step in 5-minute survival package for corporations. Led by the CEO, the following 5 things are what need to happen to make sure that your corporation will still be here in 5 years. First, state the obvious, but only after you've noticed it. What is obvious is that this is an emergency situation unlike anything most of us have experienced in our lifetime. So we need to recognize that, and then we need to communicate what's obvious to those of us on the team. Now, if this were a lifeboat, and I'm going to push the lifeboat metaphor a little bit here, but if this were a lifeboat, we'd have to be saying, ladies and gentlemen, we hate to disturb you, but this is no longer a cruise. This is now about survival, and the rules have changed. So, you've now completed step 1. Let's move to step 2. Probably it's occurred to you that we need to limit the use of our resources at this point, and we need to parcel them out item by item to the departments and to the individuals that need those resources in order to help the company survive. So the Wall Street Journal subscriptions, they're going to have to go. The long-term free lunches at the corporate dining room, they're going to have to go. Having the luxury of 5 consultants to review your business plan before you put it into effect, probably going to have to be a thing of the past. Right now, we need to stretch the resources and get the very, very, very best result from every expenditure that we make. All right. Step 3. We have to realize that many will not survive this emergency. Now, a quick distinction. The loss of a life is nowhere near the kind of difficulty represented by the loss of a job. Or do we have that reversed? Because, most people seem to think that losing their job is very, very close to losing their life. And I would suggest to you they're not even in the same category. So a lot of jobs are not going to survive this emergency. But a lot of people will survive this emergency. If we were to stay with our lifeboat example, however, if we're going from an ocean liner to a lifeboat, not everyone is going to have a seat. And those seats need to be reserved for people who are actually going to help the corporation survive and do well. So this may be one of those terrible times where the CEO has to decide who will survive and whose job will be lost. Again, if we were back in the lifeboat, there may be 30 people in the water, all of whom want to get a hand up over the gunwale, and there may be somebody who stands up and says, hey, who made you boss? I want to be the leader. That's a time when the leader in the lifeboat may have to pull their weapon and shoot that individual and throw their body overboard in order to pick up and move forward, because we don't have time to wait and we don't have room enough for everyone. So it's real, it's hard, it's a huge confront in real time, but the truth is not everyone can survive. Now, you're stretching your resources, you know who's going to be on your team moving forward, you have everybody's full and complete attention. What do? Now you need to spend a day or 2, maybe 3, and get a very concrete plan for what happens next. You've got to work the strategy really hard and decide what happens now, what happens tomorrow, what happens next week, what happens the week after that, and you need to get everybody acting on that strategy as quickly as humanly possible. Now, we know it doesn't take months to do a strategic plan. We know it doesn't take years to do a strategic plan. Why? Because we've been doing strategic plans for corporate clients for the last 30 years. Such a project can take a week, and you can do an awfully darn good job of building your strategy in a very short period of time. That's just how quickly it can be done. So, step 4, build your strategy and prepare to execute. The final step is something that most people don't think too clearly about because they're so busy putting the strategy into execution, they forget that they have to talk about it. They have to broadcast it. They have to let the world, their clients, the marketplace in general, and their employees all know what the new strategy is. Back to that idea of going full circle and stating what is obvious and getting everybody on board. So now, you've got a strategy, you've got your team, you need to form the story. And oh, by the way, the receptionist on the 4th floor ought to be telling that story and be clear about it. The head of research on the 48th floor ought to know that story and be talking about it. When we do a major briefing for everybody who carries our products on the 52nd floor, everybody should know about it and everybody should be telling that story. And that way, the marketplace in general will soon pick up on what your story is, and the marketplace and your clients and everyone will be talking about it and passing that story along. 1 ripple, 2, 3, 4, until your story ripples out to the edges of the market and comes back to you. So, 5 steps, a quick summary. First, let's notice what is obvious and communicate it so people are not in any doubt. Second, let's limit our use of resources to what we absolutely need to get the job done. 3, we have to decide whose jobs will not survive and make that decision stick and to make it quickly. Fourth, we need to decide what the strategy is now in real time, and we need to make sure everybody's aware of it. And finally, we need to be talking about that strategy, form a new story that's maybe a minute and a half, maybe 2 on the outside, and get everyone we can contact telling it. That package is the very package we need to make sure that we and our organization survive and thrive in the next 5 years. Well, I'm confident that this process works because I've seen it happen during the 3 recessions and market corrections of major proportion that I've enjoyed in my career. I believe there's an ancient curse. May you live in interesting times. This would qualify. May you and your corporation live through this difficult time with confidence.